All right, well, that is up. It's one half of Two Native Sons. Scott Patrick said he's tired, so but we still commandeered his profile page on Facebook and live in the group, and then YouTube also. But I've got a special guest on tonight, Rudy. It's part of Patrick's agency. Rudy works with Patrick, and then I've known Rudy now. I don't know how long we've known each other. Since what, January?
Yeah, I'd say about that.
So, but
close to that. Yeah, pretty much all of it.
You hear my husband in the background?
yeah, I think he thought you were talking to him potentially.
Probably.
So, but I know you're looking. We'll take a look and see if this comes up. But like I said, that share button should be on the video. So let's see what we got going on.
Let's see.
As we test it, so people are jumping on here. They're like, "What are they doing?" They're
Right?
trying to test stuff. You just never know.
Oh, there's like a share video file on share screen, but I don't see like a shared link. So we just need to go on his page?
Yep.
Okay. I'll just go on his page and grab it. There it is.
We got somebody watching. I don't know. It might be myself.
Right? Shared a news feed. Perfect.
Yep.
We'll do live with Two Sons. No script.
So I think that answers your question there too, though, Rudy, because I know you were asking in regards by doing a live video, it may be where you just have to kind of play with the system and go in there as you're doing your live and then just share it.
Oh yeah, with the other groups. Oh, that's a good idea. I think you're right. I think that would probably be the easiest way to do it.
We got Patrick chiming in. It's me.
Just stranger danger. Stranger danger.
So, but no, I think it's interesting because you have a very unique story, unique upbringing that you experienced, and you've shared and talked that it really has opened up to get you to where you're at now. And I'm not for sure how many people know about your backstory or how often you've shared it. So I think that's something really the power of your story and that experience is something to share, and because you just never know who comes across this video and what they see. So I think just to be able to share that, you just never know who we impact. So let's go ahead and hear that that journey that you had. And I know, like you said, that's been something that's been great for you in regards to where you're at now with everything going on.
Absolutely. I do share it with anybody and everybody that's willing to listen. When I was a board of director for Urban Peak, or now called The Place, I actually got to be the keynote speaker and share my story in front of 1,000 people, and including like the governor and everything like that. And so I do love sharing my story because not all the homeless teens grow up to be homeless men and women. So and I owe that to a lot of different aspects, and I'll go into that here in a little bit. But backstory, basically I was born and raised here in Colorado. I moved back and forth between here and California because my mom lived in California, but she struggled with alcoholism, depression. At 6 years old, I helped save her from suicide by calling 911 after she slit her wrist. So I kind of had a rough upbringing that way. But as soon as my stepdad was like, all right, you've been through enough, you're going to go live with your grandparents. I moved in with them when I was 8 years old. Did not stop my mom from calling when she was intoxicated and suicidal, and I'd have to rescue her from the cliff of death, if you will. So like I was always used to trying to help the older adults and everything like that. Even my grandparents' friends, if they were struggling, I would be the one they go to for some odd reason at 10, 11 years old. And I would try to give them advice. You know, sometimes kids have a different outlook and really actually can help adults. And so they thought I was going to be a missionary. I thought I was going to be a missionary. We were very religious, hence the missionary. And then in 6th grade, they found out that I was gay. Well, bi at that time. They thought I was bi. I knew I was gay, but they thought I was bi. And so they, from 6th grade to 10th grade, they had me go through therapy to make me straight. And doing that and being in school and not having a good relationship with my grandparents, and the trust was broken. Everything was just kind of rough for us as a family. And the therapist was just telling me, I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell, I'm going to hell, and trying to make me straight and everything, that it just kind of ruined our relationship. And so it kind of sucked. 10th grade, though, I asked to be put into public school because I was at a Christian private school previously. And they weren't, Christian private school back in those days. I mean, this is 25, 30 years ago. Being gay was not acceptable in Colorado Springs. Focus on the Family was at the height of its power, if you will. And I believe even back then we were still, and I'm not going to get into politics here because you'd be surprised about my politic views, but we were a Republican state back then, I believe, and now we're a Democratic state, I believe. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, you're shaking your head. Okay,
I'm not for sure. I'm not for sure because politics for me is one of those things that can be a very slippery slope,
right?
And it's a lot of energy that you put out there just because you see the fighting that takes place. And I brought this up. I'm like, if we could get rid of the party system altogether and just come together as one unified country,
That'd be nice.
think we'd be in a better position potentially, but you just never know. So I'm not exactly for sure. I think it did flip over to a blue state this past election, but I'm not for sure.
Right. So where were we at? So constructive therapy, blah blah. Public school.
Yeah, you were talking about going from a private Christian school and then asking to go to a public school.
That's right. Graduated from the public school barely by the skin of my teeth, thank goodness. I mean, I was still doing the therapy, and then my senior year, though, I moved in with how I finally came out of the closet. My senior year, I came out to the closet by calling my mother and saying, "Oh, by the way, I'm gay." And I was 18 at the time, gay, and engaged to a 38-year-old black man. They were racist, so I kind of hit them all at once with everything.
Gotcha.
And they weren't really surprised. Well, they were surprised of some of that, but not the gay thing. But when I left that person, that's when I tried to go back home, and they wouldn't let me, and they dropped me off at the homeless shelter that day. And it was an adult homeless shelter. I was 18, not prepared for the world. And they literally put some stuff in a trash bag, a black trash bag, and said, "Here you go. Otherwise, we're going to call the cops on you for trespassing." And I'm like, I didn't know back then, but they wouldn't be able to do that. 30-day squatter and everything. But yeah, so it was rough. I thought that I was going to have a backing because my counselor was female. So I kind of assumed that because she's female, there's no sexual tension or anything like that. She knew I was gay, and I thought that I would be okay. Within about 2 months of living there, I was raped in the showers. And when I went to her response was, well, you shouldn't be gay. And so I left the homeless shelter that day, lived on the streets for 2 years under Bijou Bridge. And that's when I got wind of a gay youth group and went to there, and they got me introduced to Urban Peak, now called The Place. Back then, they didn't have a homeless teen shelter, but they were the only homeless teen program here in El Paso County or Colorado Springs. And back then we only had about 173 homeless teens in the entire city for a whole year. It was not that bad. Now it's about 173 new people a month, and that's huge change. So there's a big need for help for the homeless teens in our community. But they helped me learn some of the basic things, such as how to clean your house, how to budget, because you don't think about that when you're a homeless teen, let alone if your parents don't teach you that, which most don't, let's be honest. We all kind of find out on our own, or we don't listen.
Yeah, true.
That's also true. Had I known about the budgeting, they taught us in 6th grade. What the hell am I going to remember that from 6th grade? You know what I mean? But anyhow, so they put me up into a studio apartment in old Colorado City. I was dealing with a lot of depression because of not being accepted. And so I turned towards drugs and alcohol, and an abundance of both. Did everything back then except for heroin. So I literally did everything. Well, I didn't do peyote. There's no access. But lived that life for quite a long time. After I aged out of the program, my mental stability, my mental thought process was still, woe is me. It's my grandparents' fault for me being in this situation. Just a lot of hate, a lot of blame, and a lot of trying to suppress those feelings in history. And so, and I bring up mindset because later on in life, the only thing that got me out of it was correct mindset. And once you're in that homeless mindset of blaming the world, it is extremely hard to get out of. I still have friends that I knew way back when that are still homeless and just have that mentality, and it's everybody's fault that I'm here, and they can't accept responsibility. Nothing's wrong with them. And I'm just glad that I didn't get stuck in that mindset. Through sheer determination, I was introduced actually to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Everybody should look that up. It doesn't matter what walk of life or where you are at life. It's always good to look that up and refresh yourself with those needs. Don't skip any steps with it. Look at each one and work on it. I was shown that when I was 22, and ever since then, that's that helping shape my mindset using that pyramid of needs is what got me out of homelessness. Literally saying, this is not going to be me, this cannot be me, and this will not be me for the rest of my life. I've got to get rid of these drugs. I've got to get an okay handle on this alcohol. About 11 years ago, which would be, how old am I now? Right before my DUI. So I was still couch hopping, still drinking, still doing drugs. My mom committed suicide, and I also got a DUI, like not that much later. And that's what changed my life around. I took that therapy to heart because I completely lost my mind when she did that. Even though she had attempted many times, me saving her many times, she had stopped drinking for years. And it took one night of all of her depression over her past, because she was one of those people that live in the past. And as soon as she got drunk, she called my grandparents and said, take care of the dog, and ended her life. So she was truly an inspiration for me to become better and not end up the same way. And going to the counseling, using the hierarchy of needs, changing my thought of woe is me, blame my grandparents and everything like that, It was, okay, no, I got to stop doing that because that's not doing me any good. Screw the past. Let's move towards the future. That's the only thing. And let's live for now, move to the future, and get better. Constantly reminding myself, it will get better. It will get better. These are good things that I'm doing. That's baby steps. Work at fast food. That's the first step. Why? Because it built a lot of small but very useful um, experiences. And what am I looking for? Work, not
Work
just work
ethic.
ethic. Yeah, work ethic as well. But attributes you can use to move to get other jobs as well. I forgot. I'm blanking out on what that term is. But I was finally starting able to build my resume. After my DUI, I said, okay, I gotta get out of fast food. I've been in it way too long. It's not getting me anywhere. Can't move into my own place. So here I am couch hopping. And fast food's not paying me enough to move into my own place. So I ended up applying for a job into Connect for Health Colorado. And it was for Obamacare, so health insurance. And it was about right when they first came out, so everything was kind of, and that's when I got my very first place by myself. And I showed up to the interview with a mohawk back then. I did have hair, believe it or not. And they accepted me with the mohawk and all. And that's what got me into insurance. So that was about 10 years ago. Dates could be off, but about 10 years ago. And that's when it really improved my life. I still did drugs every now and then. I was a casual user, not a hooked user or anything like that. But I was weaning off, if you will. After I couldn't move up there, I was able to use those skills that I learned from health insurance to get my job at DHS. Loved DHS, loved their mission. That's when I started focusing more on the community. I helped start and create the community outreach program there, where we would go out to the homeless tent communities and service them by giving them food stamps and Medicaid. And we opened up little booths, if you will, at different libraries and partner agencies. I got to start networking with community leaders, and that's when I became a board of director for for the place, Urban Peak, and did my speech in front of 1,000 people of my life. And they just helping the community really was fulfilling to me. But unfortunately, I couldn't move up anymore at DHS. So I was like, okay, well, let's try other types of insurance, and went to USAA and Farmers. And finally, I am at this glorious job under Patrick, where now we do all insurance, and it's great. Every single kind. And we are encouraged to be ourselves. I have had 25 years of conditioning for corporate world, and now I've got a problem child named Scott and a wonderful boss named Patrick, who said, screw all that, unlearn it, now be yourself and enjoy. So because of you guys, I do live videos all the time. I'm streaming more. I'm not caring about hiding anything, and it's been great. I'm very excited for the future.
That right there, I think, it's phenomenal to see that journey that you've been on and where you're at now, and really showcasing, giving somebody being a guide for somebody else to show that you can do it too. And sometimes it may feel as if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, but it's a matter of finding your tribe, finding those people you resonate with, and connecting. But I think the biggest thing, though, is people when they're going through this is giving themselves grace and the space to do that, and not to be hard on themselves, but to be open and be that vulnerable and transparent individual that we all should be. But you also have the fact that society's like, no, you can't do that. And then we all get what we have going on now. And it's a sad thing really to see what takes place. And I have to commend you on just the growth. As long as I've known you, like the growth that's taking place and the different things that you're running into and stepping into and wanting to have explode and really grow and make a huge impact in the community. And when you look and you resonate back on the journey that has taken place and the journey is still going for you through that growth and that progression piece, when you look at everything that has happened so far, what would be the biggest challenge that you're grateful for that has been part of that journey that really started that growth process for you?
Started my growth process. I would say fear was the thing that held me back, and overcoming fear of change is what made me grow. And Patrick and I have talked about this recently. Like, yeah, I gave up fear of growth to a degree, but I've been stagnant for years now until I started working with Patrick, and now I've discovered that the fear never left; it just subsided. And so, again, I'm at a impasse with my life and success right now, that if I choose fear, it'll hold me back. Not just fear of failure, because I've been there, done that. I'm not afraid of failure. It's now fear of how much success is going to happen, how much that could change my life, even if it is positive. Even though it is positive, let me reword that. It is positive change, and so much of it all at once is terrifying. But choosing to become I always laugh at the movie, but it's kind of true, a yes man, and is opening up doors, opening up friendships, and giving me the life I've always wanted. And it's terrifying and great. It's very great. So I think that's what holds most of us back is fear of good or fear of bad, either one.
And when you think about that fear of success, everybody's got the fear of failure because that's really how our brain has been wired. We've all focused on the negative piece. But I think people have to understand that for success, failure is part of that growth process. It's part of that ladder, because the fact that you make that mistake, you have that failure, you can look and say, okay, what went right? What do I need to do to go and be in a better position to do that pivot piece going forward? Or even if you're going down the path and you have that failure, you're like, okay, let me pivot a little bit and come back and say, okay, what went wrong and what can I do to fix that and make that work in my favor? But the big piece, Patrick talks on this too. He's like, we don't know how to handle success. Like, we haven't been taught that piece, that aspect of success. And you also have to look and consider when people are successful, what's a lot of the verbiage that we hear from people when they see others succeeding and having that success? What verbiage do we normally hear from others?
That are successful?
Yeah, when you listen to the crowd or you listen to individuals that really just want to hate on people, what are people saying? What's that verbiage that we usually hear from the masses?
Are we talking negative? Because I know positive is if I can do it, you can do it.
Well, I think because like you have somebody that's successful like Tom Brady in his career in football. You have a lot of people that will hate on Tom Brady, or you'll have individuals that make a lot of money, and people look at that as being a bad thing because of our idea when it comes to money. And I think a lot of times when it comes to success, a lot of people will be like, nope, that can't happen, or they'll try to tear people down because they're in a spot that they can't see themselves doing it. And then that just bleeds into the crowd because as humans, we are a culture that is a tribe mentality, and we don't want to stick out because during the tribe times, if you stuck out and you were the black sheep, you were getting tossed. And during caveman time, woolly mammoth or saber-tooth tiger was coming by and killing you. And so that's why we don't want to get tossed. And I think it's interesting when you have people that do push against the grain and show up and say, screw this. You either love me or you hate me. This is what you're getting. So that's your choice on what you're looking at.
That's that fear. Fear of being alone, fear of standing out. I think, like I said, I think fear is the biggest factor. But, and I wouldn't say just to be successful, you have to stand out all the time. And there's different levels of success. As long as you feel successful in what you're doing, then congratulations, you've earned success. Some of us put high bars. My success is going to be measured by my retirement. I want my retirement nice and well and comfy, and I want to go fishing every day, and that's going to measure my success. If I can do that at the retirement age, cool, job well done. I know too many people that don't have retirement built or are never going to have retirement and going to have to work till their 80s and 90s and, until they die. And I don't want to be that. I want to be, my measure is definitely that. So setting your mindset and getting over that fear of standing out or blending in, getting over that fear that you just need to be you. Be you and have that mindset. Like Patrick and I were talking about how I'm reading, and we've talked about this too, how I'm reading that Think and Grow Rich. Have that mindset. I keep looking over here because my statement is on my wall, that I have a statement, and my goal within the next 5 years is to, on July 4th, is to celebrate my financial independence, to be in a spot that I know that will set me up for retirement in the future, basically. And focusing on that and knowing that you can reach it is not unattainable. It is a realistic goal, and it's not something that you have to fear having because you've never had it. No, you need to get over that fear. You will have it, and it will happen because you deserve it. And that is, and work and doing everything to get it, being obsessed about it. But in order to do that, you have to be ready to accept that mindset. And I think that was the hugest thing about Think and Grow Rich. Because you asked me 2 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready for this book. I'm ready. And I surround myself with other people that are ready to do the same thing. And surrounding yourself with the right people is a lot. Gives you the heads. Gives you the lead of where you need to be and where you want to go.
True. I think the thing that you look at that the collaboration piece, us as humans, we're social creatures, so we're meant to be around each other. But it also is looking because you can only go so far based on your experiences and your perception, and by having that group around you, having your tribe, you can lean into other people. You can get the experience and get the perception of other people to tailor and say, okay, is there something that I'm missing? Or maybe I've got everything, and that perception that that person has doesn't match who I am. And so it's okay, that's great. I don't need to put it in my toolbox, in my tool belt. But I think that's also the power of the collaboration piece. And really, it's that piece of coming together, which a lot of people miss out and really miss out on the bigger picture of working together as a team and doing bigger things coming together than by yourself.
Teamwork is huge, and I loved working, and I say that sarcastically. I loved working for all these companies and industries. Oh, teamwork is so important, and then it's all about them. No, it's when they lie to you and say teamwork is important, and then they only look out for themselves. That's one thing I love about working for Patrick, is that teamwork is truly teamwork. We lift each other up. If you're having a bad day, you don't have to hide that you're having a bad day. You say, I'm having a bad day, help, and everybody will flock. If you're getting overworked, don't worry, I got you. Okay, let me help you out. Let's take this off your hands and help you move forward, because nobody's set back. And teamwork is true in our agency, and that's honestly why I think that's why we got the best of 2021. We work as a team, not as selfless individuals.
Yeah.
Selfish individuals.
No, I think it's true. It's a big piece, and when you look at what Patrick has been able to build and bring together and bring people together, is the diversity and having those different experiences. But it's unique how you bring up the fact of corporate America, and you'll have everybody that's like, "Oh, teamwork makes everything work." And the issue that you run into is corporate America really isn't mindful about, let's focus on the individual. Let's see what they dream about. What do they want to accomplish? It's more of, let's throw these phrases out that people are used to, and people don't question what's being said. They just go along with it. And then because they don't question, they get burnt out and they get angry and they get upset, and they end up missing out on the bigger picture in regards with that. But I think that's something that people get sucked into, because as humans, it's, let's hear this and let's cause people to have this loop and not have it be a true effect in regards to what's being spoken.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. And honestly, you get so numb by it, and everybody just rolls their eyes when they're in those meetings. Oh, we're a team, blah blah blah. And yet, when somebody makes a mistake or anything like that, they're the first person to say, "Oh, you did this, you did this, you did this." Every time I was a manager, a lead, any kind of leader, I would say we, because it's a team effort. A team failure, team success is all a team's doing. And that's how we talk as a team. And I think that's the downfall of corporate America, for sure. And I'll never go back to corporate. Screw that.
Well, I think once you get your taste of having that entrepreneurial freedom to work on your own, really you're stepping into a bigger purpose, a bigger vision. And I know your view in regards to insurance is a very people oriented view, and you're very driven on taking care of the individual instead of looking at them as a number. And I think that's another thing too. And I've talked to people in regards, when I put out the referral, when people are asking about insurance, truly Patrick and the agency and everybody part of the team is prone on, let us look at this person, let's see what they're needing, and what else can we do for these individuals, and who can we get them connected with, and how can we help them go after their dreams and create that life that they want to create, which I think that's a unique approach really that you don't see from a lot of other corporations, other businesses, and everything that comes into that piece.
That's true. Every time we have a one-on-one, Patrick and I, and we talk about connecting with our clients. First of all, our agency connects with clients more than any other agency, hands down. Not only will we break bread and butter with you, but we build these quotes as insurance for your specific needs. Sometimes it's better to go with somebody else, and we'll let you know. We'll give you the resources to make sure you're good. However, we'll remain in contact with you to see how we can build if you have a business, your self-employment better. We will blast you on our Facebook and on our social medias, because why? We care about growing the community, not just our agency. You're not, nobody is a number. And you mentioned my outlook. My why do I do insurance? My reason for doing insurance is because I take my life story of homelessness and growth and overcoming fear and obstacles, and I will do anything and everything I can for my clients so they don't have to go through any of those hardships. Insurance, with a lot of the big named insurance companies, you don't get that one-on-one. You get an 800 number, and you're a number to them. And with us, I will fight for you. We will fight for you to get what you need with your insurance. We have access to so many carriers, and I get to make sure that you're safe. And that's the biggest thing that I love, because my clients know I'm there for them. If you like, even when I have clients that have lost family members due to COVID, I have sent them flowers. I have cooked them dinner. I don't mind doing any of that because I love my clients as my friends. And I will do anything for them, and it's working. We, as an insurance company, do not do what 99% of insurance companies do and buy leads and cold call and annoy you for 2 years until you say no and shut the fuck up, or you become our client. We don't do that. We work strictly off referrals of our friends, of our clients, and we embrace our clients and all their needs. And the fact that our agency is growing so much that we're adding more kinds of insurance is just proof that it's working. And our clients are loving the love and helping us grow.
So I don't know if you recall the original conversation that we had on Messenger when we originally connected back in March, the end of March. Do you remember what I had asked you part of that conversation? So I asked you, I was like, what's an experience you would like to accomplish outside of insurance?
Oh.
And that was the end of March. And so now, with some time that has taken place, and with the kind of the increase in passion for you, because I know when you had brought up Think and Grow Rich and really diving into that book and being at the point of being able to receive what's shared in that book, now with that question and with things that are taking place for you, what is an experience that you want to have outside of the insurance industry?
My experience is, and my dream and passion is networking. I want to have an answer for everybody, and somebody who has the answer for everybody. I want to be the go-to hub of connections, whether it's here, Arizona, wherever I'm at, that I can get anybody the help they need. Do you remember what my answer was back then? Because I don't remember.
Let me see here. Said, to be honest, want to just build the house my husband and I will love to live in and really be able to focus a lot on our gaming and my cooking. So
I was selfish. Okay, got it.
Hey, no, I think because it's an interesting thing, because that is one thing that really, when you're meeting with somebody, it's asking those questions that aren't normally asked. And so I think when you think about it, because by being a guide and being able to help other heroes, because this is something that I've talked about, shared a little bit, it's that building your story brand. And so when you think about you as the guide, it's kind of being the go-to broker for the connection piece within the community.
Absolutely.
And so how can you create that heart story for others? And how can you bring others into that story with you? And so it's kind of, if you look at it, it's the Yoda situation with Luke Skywalker. He gave a couple different things to Luke, and then Luke had to take that map with the pencil to write in what he needs to and erase what he needs to. But I think that's the thing that a lot of times, and I talked to Patrick. I was like, I've got to look and kind of reword in regards to the referral piece, because it's how can we create that heart story to not only go from helping people go from surviving to thriving, but what besides the external problem that people are facing, which if they're going and looking for insurance, everybody's looking to save money. But
Right.
what's the internal struggle that we can help solve? And so that piece of you wanting to become the broker within the community, the connection broker within the community, that's something that you could potentially help that internal struggle with somebody that they feel stuck and they don't know who to talk to or who to reach out to. And so it's an interesting perspective, and it's one of those things that does take some time to reconfigure. But it is the piece really. It's okay. How can we as an agency go and rebrand it to create that heart story and create that hero story for somebody else? Because you got to look a lot of people that go into insurance. It's the I can help save you money. All right, that's cool,
Oh, that's the
but
whole point, right?
yeah, well, what's the internal struggle that
Mm-hmm.
we need to go outside of the external struggle? And so it's just one of those really honest things that goes into everyday life. What do we need to do to reconfigure or recreate a piece? And the interesting thing is, we can share this every day, give the value. But the thing is, a lot of people will still get stuck and will still need help stitching it back together. And so I think that's one of the things that we can't be fearful to share the value, to share the information that we have, because you'll still have individuals that will hear it, but they won't do anything with it. They'll still need the assistance to stitch it back together.
That's true. And being their community broker, which is now my new title, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I literally wrote that down, so I will remember tomorrow. I'm going to put that as my new title and my job, because that is fantastic. That is exactly who I want to be, and I've always wanted to be that. That's I noticed that really became a dream and passion of mine when I worked at DHS, and it was starting the networking thing. And at first, I was like, well, maybe I want to be a socialite. It's not that. It's literally community broker. I want to be there for any need that anybody I come across has, and I can point them in the right direction to get the help that they need. I may not be able to do it myself, and that's okay. And as long as I can provide them the help they need, that's phenomenal. Yeah, I'm community broker now.
Well, if Patrick catches this and then you have a plaque on the desk that states that title, this is what happens when we have a conversation.
I know, right? I mean, that is exactly who I want to be, and that just fit the bill. I thought social worker was the way to go, because that you do kind of are a community broker, if you do the job right. You're supposed to have all the resources for everybody to get help, and yeah, that's a really good title. I'm stuck on that.
Now we just got
Well played, old chap. Well played.
Now I think it's working to really streamline that tagline for yourself. Really to have that story there, really to help people have that story that they can connect with.
Mm-hmm.
And so now you've got the starting foundation. It's just what are we going to do? How are we going to shape it? And
Yes.
it's an interesting thing, but you got to look. It's who's the heroes you want to work with, because the thing that we come across is everybody's like, I want to serve everybody, but if you go that route, it's so wide, it's hard for you to hit. So it's really tailoring down that specific hero that you're looking to work with, that hero that you want to help out. And then the beautiful thing is, if you look at it, you can help this hero become their own guide, and then they can become a guide for another hero. And what that does with the chain reaction of the impact that potentially has within the community, within the country, and the entire globe, and just what that does for us as humans.
Yep, I agree. And one thing that you said is pointed out to me. It's as an insurance broker, I when I first started with Patrick, I said, I want all the insurance. I want to be able to do everything. I want to do financial planning. I want to do everything, Roth IRAs, blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, so you're trying to overextend yourself. I see what it is. And I was told this when I was actually working with another company too, because I said the same thing there. And they said, well, if you're only good at, if you can be good, you'll only be semi-good at a lot of things. You should be master of one or two things and let somebody else be master of the other stuff. Be the master of what you are good at. And so now that I've heard that 3 times, I was like, okay, fine, you know. And it makes total sense. Overextending, and that's why I want to be the community broker. I can't do everything. I can't know everything, and I can't be everything for everybody. But as long as I have the connections that can be, that's huge. I love that.
Yeah.
Community
Well,
broker.
that's the thing too, because by being a master in one thing, you potentially get looked at as an expert in everything. Because by having those connections and being that connector and whatnot, but you got to think about it too, because if you're trying to do everything under the sun, how proficient can you become, and really how can you make a huge impact in the life of somebody else? In regards with that. And that's the power of building the team. That's the power of building
Mhm.
your tribe and finding those connections where you're weak in one area, you find somebody that's strong in that area and you connect. And then you start building and growing and having that tribe community where everybody has that specific niche that they focus on, and then they go and rely on everybody else to work together. The unique thing is the Sequoias up in, I think, California, their root system is not very deep. It's wide though. And so what they do as an ecosystem is those roots will grab each other and interlock. And so when the storms come, they're a lot stronger with that locking system. And it's one of those very powerful perceptions that if you really look, you're like, man, they're not going very deep. It's very wide to connect and build that
Mhm.
way. And the power of what that does for individuals by having a very wide swath of the connection piece.
I agree. And I think, especially the newer generation who's surprisingly more focused on trust and what you can do to build that trust. Whereas I would say our generation before, it's not necessarily trust, it's about what your abilities are.
Yeah.
But this new generation, they focus on trust. And in order to have that trust, you need to be able to have a wide range and be able to connect your roots in some way, and have the access to be able to get the right help for your clients. And as far as business goes, and in relationships, friendships are built the same way, you know. And if you are focused too much on yourself and you aren't latching on, you're just gonna fall.
Yeah. So
Just gonna fall.
so it's very interesting. I've got something that I really speak and I share with people. So for your perspective on this, let's say you end up getting roughed up in a situation with a certain individual in a certain community. Do you allow that interaction to jade you with every other experience with individuals in that same industry, or do you look at it as each experience is its own and let me allow those individuals to show up and prove themselves instead of me taking that jaded piece and throwing that out onto everybody?
I would say I used to. Back when I had I will say, selfish mind when I was homeless and drugs and everything like that. Absolutely. Absolutely. As I've gotten older, somewhat wiser, my response is bitch bye and move on. You can't live in the past. You can't live by the experiences of the past. Yes, you can learn from them, but you got to move on. And just because that was one person, I think out of the probably what 400 or 500 people that I have worked with as a client and insurance, I've had one person that I didn't get along with. And yes, he was just nasty. And I was like, okay, no skin off my back. Let's move on. But I have seen people that, oh my gosh, this was such a difficult day. I had this one person, blah, blah, blah. One person, you're going to complain about one person for a week? You just gave them all the power in the world.
Yep.
Because now they just jaded you, and you just gave them all the power, and they've already forgotten you. Like, it's not worth it. So I don't do that anymore, but it's when you do, it weighs on you, and it gives them the power of control and gives you fear of what's going to happen next. And you gotta get over that, so you get over that fear. Fear is the mind killer. Where's that from? That's a movie.
And then so it goes into another thing too that really has been something lately. It's probably been the last 4 or 5 months, really, that's the shift in perspective for me. But let's say you meet with somebody and you ask them about their personal experience with an individual, and they're like, man, that person's garbage, that person horrible, I wouldn't even go talk to them. I've looked at it, and the flip for me really has taken place where everybody's got good in them. And so if somebody asks me about an individual that maybe rubbed me the wrong way and I just don't get along with and they're just not in my circle, I'll look and say, okay, yep, that person is great. They're a funny individual. Go and talk and experience that for yourself and really see if that person is somebody that needs to be part of your journey, or if it's somebody that doesn't align with that person. Because I think when you look at it, if you go around and potentially bash somebody and have somebody's opinion get jaded because of that and skewed, you could potentially have that person miss out on a great opportunity and a much needed connection piece because of what you spoke. And so for yourself, Rudy, when you look at that, if you come across somebody and you ask them a question about an individual and they go to the negative and bash the person, how does that interaction with that original person that you asked about the other person, how does that impact you with that relationship in regards to that person that bashes the other individual?
It makes me wary, but it's a conscious effort to have that in the back of your mind for just in case, so that you're prepared. But go into that conversation like you never heard anything, because you need to build your own judgments with people. And just because one interaction didn't go well doesn't mean this other interaction won't go well, or vice versa. I've had it where this person's amazing and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, okay, I got myself hyped up. And instead of having it in the back of my head and starting fresh, I had that. And I was like, oh, yeah. Ooh, yeah, no. Why did you say this person is amazing? They got some issues. Do you know what's happening? So I have had it both ways. And having the negative part, negative outlet is actually easier to work with than the positive one, because my mind is triggered to always think positive. And so if that's already positive, I'm like jazzed. I'm like super excited to meet this person. And then I have a couple in mind, literally. And I just met them. I'm like, ooh, they are not good to be. I don't want to be around them, because they're actually toxic. They have a lot of deep-rooted issues that they're hiding, but you can see it. And I surround myself with people that are not afraid to overcome those. It's just, so I've had it both ways, but I would say dealing with the person that was trash talked by somebody I knew is a lot easier for me to work with, because I'm like, okay, well, now that I know what's happening on that end, I can come into it with a fresh mind and work a little different angle to get to know the person, not do the same triggers that was negative. Work on different triggers so I can learn what's good about the person, because you're right. Everybody has some good.
Oh no! God, when were you gonna tell me? You just don't not tell
It's
people.
Wednesday. You know what Wednesday
Well,
is.
heck if I know anything. Oh,
Me too, sister.
Am I on there too?
Yes. Love it. Gotta
That's
love
good.
it. But I think so. It's interesting because you talked about somebody that props somebody up and really gives that positivity and whatnot. An interesting saying that I've heard is expectations are just predetermined resentments. And it's funny because if you have these expectations of somebody, you have resentments that potentially are created because of those expectations that you have.
Yes,
So it's a unique thing.
it is. And it's a lot of people don't really focus on that part. They focus on the negative. So I wanted to point out the other spectrum of that. So judgment is just, unfortunately, judgment is something that everybody does. Don't be afraid of it. It's going to happen. Don't say you never judge. Don't judge anybody, because that's a lie. Be honest with it, confront it, and work on it.
I think the judgment piece really. I tell people, and I'm like, I don't know if this is statistically correct and whatnot, but I'm like, 85% of judgment comes from ourselves. So when people are like, I don't judge, you judge yourself all the time. So you're already judging somebody. So when somebody's like, I don't judge people, we all judge ourselves.
It's true.
So it's funny.
And honestly, I've never met anybody. You cannot tell me that you don't judge another person either. Yes, we will. We all judge ourselves. That's easy. But what bugs me is when people say they don't judge other people. That's bullshit. You may judge it and accept it, accept what you see, but you still judge them. Everybody's on a scale. Let's be honest, and it's okay. That's not a bad thing. And a lot of people just say that's such a bad thing to do. It's not a bad thing. Accept it. Like I said, accept it and deal with it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's interesting because in the coaching space, that's one of those very fine lines that as a coach, you've got to be very, very cautious about that. Because if you're in the mindset of judgment, even a little bit, that throws everything off where you're not giving the other person that space and the grace that they need. So it's a fine line that can be a very touchy thing. And so that's an interesting piece with that aspect. But
absolutely. And as a coach, I'm not a coach, but in my opinion, you're going to judge, and it does happen. So all you need to do, again, this is not, I'm not a coach, not soliciting as one, but in my opinion, you take that judgment, you put it in the back of your mind, and you bring forth the advice, the passion, the connection of somebody or some experience that that does resonate with them. You have that judgment, but you have to consciously, because we're humans, you're going to have to consciously say, this cannot impact my help with them.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of help they need. This is the help I'm going to provide, regardless of what judgment I have. And that's a conscious thing that I think not just coaches, but psychologists and social workers and everybody. I've seen judgmental social workers, obviously, and it just never ends well. A, for their career, but B, for the people that they have under their charge as well. You need to have, even if you're one of my social workers, she was very open and honest. Stephanie was her name. She's the one that helped me the most. She was my hero. And she was brutally honest. She goes, you know what? Some of the things you do, I don't like it. I don't agree with it. But that's not going to impact me on helping you. But I will tell you what, I will never lie to you, and I will do everything I can to help you. And she's the one that resonated with me. I know her name. And she was in a place of power. She had everything over me, my housing and everything like that. And it was because of her brutal honesty. And even though she did judge me, obviously, by her statement, she still stuck it out and helped me. And I would never be where I am now without her. So being in a place of power like that, and I will say, coach is a place of power. Mentally, you are empowering them. That means you have the power. Having that place of power, knowing that you are judging, but being able to set that aside and do what's best for your client or your friend or your person or your family. I think that's the hardest thing to do, but what makes that job worth it? You know what I mean?
True.
So, yeah. Oh,
So
I get very passionate about this, don't I?
No, I love it. I think, and that's one of the things that with the Dreamer Cypher and the vision that we've had with this really is allow people to come on and be open, be their true selves, and really showcase who they are. So people can get that different viewpoint, get that different perspective, and really be able to connect with those individuals. Because I know last week we had Aaron Angel on, and you had made the comment about teachers saving your butt growing up and whatnot. And so it's interesting because you just never know. And we told Erin last week her story is powerful and just one of those things that needs to be shared more. And but it's getting that comfort level to step in there and be okay with the vulnerability and the transparency piece, because that can be a very tough thing, because the vulnerability and the transparency piece, really you're opening up those core pieces that is you, and you're potentially judging yourself and doing the judging for other people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I talk and I tell people, and it's through books that I've read, but you've got to look and understand that your gift with it, or your struggle is a gift that's meant to be shared. But it's a matter of getting out of your own way and not judge yourself.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. I didn't see Aaron's testimony earlier, and I was just thinking about it. Like, Two Native Sons should get all of us together at some point. Aaron, me, everybody else that's sharing their story, and just, I don't know, it could be like a mini support group, if you will. Because we're already pouring our hearts out. Let's make sure everybody's good. Hold everybody accountable for growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just an idea.
Well,
I also love free food, so
of course.
We'll just do it at the food trucks. It's fine.
Yes, a great community out there and whatnot. So, but we've got an hour. We've gone an hour so far, and it goes by quick. Sometimes you don't realize until. But I know you recently, because you were doing a live and you were using pod decks.
I love it. I hate you for introducing it to me.
Was that your first? Was today your first day using pod decks?
Yes, okay. It sure was. And I love the questions, because one of them was, honestly, what is the meanest thing that you've ever done? And then one was, what was your biggest failure? And getting me to, like, some of these stories that it provokes, I kind of forgot, but I did on one of them. I think it was the meanest thing I've ever done. I think that was a question. It gets some hard stuff out there, but I have vowed to make all my lives truthful and honest. If I get a little too tipsy, I delete the lives. I'm not gonna lie.
No, delete them. Just leave them.
But because one of them, I was up to like 3 a.m. or something like that, from, I don't know, 6 p.m. drinking and doing that. Oh my god, it was a mess. But I love it, and I love doing these lives. I get to connect with people I haven't talked to in 20, 30 years, you know, and I love these podcast things. Or pod decks. They're phenomenal. They get the good questions out there, the nice juicy ones that'll make you open up.
Well, and I think the power that you have with that too, though, is by being on Twitch and streaming. That's something that you can utilize to have your community come on, have them on with you, and run through that.
Love it.
And just, you never know the conversation, the connection, and really how deep that can go for others.
Yeah, I agree.
So normally I pull out the app and whatnot. So since you have that, I'll let you run through a couple questions here. That way
Okay.
I don't know what questions are coming up. So here we
This
go.
is true. All right. Well, I already did that one. Let's see. I want to do ones that we haven't done yet. Okay, I must be going through the same deck. Let's do this category.
Which deck are we digging into right now?
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
Okay. If you were a villain or criminal mastermind, what would be your calling card?
You already know. It's let's go to the moon.
Oh my God.
So it would just be moon stickers.
I love it. Mine. Probably be some neon kind of sign thing that says "bitch please." I love it. Let's see. What is your? Well, this one's kind of boring, but what is your favorite microwavable food?
I like all food, so there's really not a favorite because
Right?
I don't. That's favoritism. We don't have favoritism. Here,
Exactly. If food is food. Oh, okay. If you were given a 1-minute Super Bowl ad that you couldn't sell, okay, what would you fill it with? What do you mean couldn't sell? Like I can't sell a product?
Yeah, so you can't sell
Oh.
it. You have an unlimited budget, but it's not being sold. So we would have to like it would just be a bunch of like random dares and challenges that people were taking on. So like Patrick and I had done the spicy chocolate. We've talked about doing the one chip challenge and live streaming that. And then we've talked because we've seen videos of people with a helmet and laundry basket turning on a treadmill and adjusting the level and then jumping on the treadmill as it's going in the laundry basket. So we're on the hunt to find a treadmill that we can do that. And so my ad would just be a bunch of challenges and just like a collage of just people doing challenges.
I like it. Yeah, I like it. I have no idea what I would do for mine. I'll have to think about that one. Let's see. What hero or villain? Would you want to be for 24 hours?
Spawn. No, not we go either Spawn or Venom, but it lean more towards Venom.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
He's your favorite?
I enjoy Venom, but also we'd have to go with the Incredible Hulk. So
Nice.
but Venom just because of the ability just to suit up quickly because of the symbiote that has attached.
That makes sense. Mine's less. Mine would be. Oh. Well, so for villain, it would be. Oh my gosh! I totally blanked on her name. Hold on. I got it. Hold on. Ursula. Just because she's the only evil villain that shimmies, it's great. You're welcome. For a hero, my all-time hero will always be my all-time hero is Storm. Love Storm. She's always been like a motherly figure, like in the 80s, 90s X-Men cartoon. Yep, she's my hero. I would love that.
Last one.
Last one?
Yep.
All right. Let's see. That was kind of interesting. What superhero is the best role model? That's a hard one.
Captain America.
Not as hard as I thought. Yeah, I would say that. I would say for me, either Captain America or Storm for me. Because the whole motherly figure and all that kind of stuff, Mother Nature and all that kind of stuff. I'm a damn hippie.
It's all good. It's all good. But no, I love this. I love to have the flip aspect because like we normally will do it on our end. But anybody that watches this, one thing I highly suggest is go grab pod decks if you're a content creator, you do lives, anything of
Love
that
it.
nature. And then the only other thing too for Patrick and I right now, we're trying to grow the YouTube channel. And so anybody that's watching this and hasn't subscribed and followed the YouTube channel, we just ask that you go do that. Help us out with that growth because we tell people ultimately that is a huge community that we can't grow by ourselves. It is a community effort in regards with that piece. So, but before we sign off, Rudy, in regards to your time here, being part of the Dreamer Cypher tonight, how was it for you?
It was awesome. Asked a lot of good, tough questions. And it's always good to open up. And the more people see this, I hope that they are encouraged. And I hope that they will, if they need the help that they need, that they will be able to get a hold of a community broker like myself, and really get the help that's needed. And also, I gotta say, if you need insurance, give me a call. Message me on Facebook. But because I didn't see a link for the YouTube page. So where do people go for the YouTube?
If you go to YouTube and type in the search bar Two Native Sons, pull up, I think it's all one word. And so when you pull that up, the thumbnail for the page is mine and Patrick's face. So you see it all the time, so you know where it's at and whatnot. But
so everybody that's watching, you see these ugly mugs? That one? That's where you go. No, just kidding.
It's all good. But no, yeah, ultimately just help us out, grow that and whatnot. But like Rudy was saying, like I always bring up, and this is something that I brought up from another podcaster, Pat McAfee. He always talks about be a friend, tell a friend. And so that's the biggest thing. Share. Social media is one of those things that you just hit the share button and it can go wide and it can be that message that somebody needs to hear. So I tell people don't judge, just share the message and you just never know who comes across it that needs to hear it.
Absolutely. I agree.
So, sweet, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate jumping on very short notice, that's for sure.
That's like what, 10 minutes or something? I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah,
makeup? Do I need makeup? No.
But that's normally how it works too. It works out very easy, and it's a great thing to just have people that are like, "Yep, let's go ahead and do it." But other than that, appreciate everybody coming on, checking it out, watching live if you are. If not, thank you for coming on and checking out the replay. And then other than that, we will catch you guys next Wednesday. I don't know if we'll have a guest. It might be myself and Patrick, so we'll find out. But other than that, we'll catch you guys next week.
Awesome. Thank you.
We out.